out there. I am your host. That's right. This is Jessica Koch. We are back again with another Profound Professionals. It is the interview series that has been running for 8 years, and all my love to you because we have 50,000 followers across all the platforms that we have been pushing this show for all these years. I'm so grateful to all of you watching. Our show features industry experts from all over the globe. I will have our guests introduce us and tell us where they're from. It is a very global panel for you today. So we will share with you industry experts that help improve your personal life or grow your business. And today we just have, look at all the beautiful faces we have today. I'm going to have them go about and they're going to introduce themselves. They're going to tell us where they're from and a little bit about what they do and who they serve. Fiona, let's start with you, please. We're going to do ladies first, gentlemen. So Fiona first.
Thank you very much. And I'm so happy to be here. I'm Fiona Paul and I live in the south of England, about 20 minutes from Stonehenge. And I'm a spiritual guide and a channel for the angelic realm. And I help people align to their heart and their soul. And that aligns them to their soul purpose and the career that they want to do.
I love that. I'm very spiritual. I was raised religious. I have had people tell me that they see lots of white light around me. I feel I have lots of people supporting me, and I love how beautiful that is. I feel like we're all energy and all connected, and I think that's lovely. Thank you so much for being here. And Marysol, tell us where you're from and a little bit about what you do and the clients you serve.
Okay, my name is Marysol James, and I'm originally from Canada, but now I live in England. In between, I lived in Poland and Asia, and I'm a best-selling romance writer. I've written 30 books over the past decade, spread over 6 different series. So I would say that I serve romance, love, people who still believe in these things, and definitely my readers. They are some of the best people on the planet.
You know, love is what makes the world go round. I truly believe that. I have personally an amazing love story with my hot, hunky husband of 26 years that still lights me up like a Christmas tree. So romance and love are such a service. And just the fiction space itself for our creativity and our minds. I just watched a piece on Agatha Christie's life. And
fascinating.
She sold 2 billion, not 1, but 2, and not mil, not M, but billion books that like makes my brain expand of the possibilities of the lives she touched, you know, and it wasn't even her initial intention to be an author. And did you know there was a time period where she had amnesia in her life? It's a very fascinating story. So fiction authors of the world do wonderful things for us and our souls and our creativity. I didn't tell Fiona, but my word for the year is alignment. So we'll talk more about that later. But we have to get to our handsome gentlemen who are waiting so patiently. James Davis, what a face, what a look, what a cutie. So welcome to the show and share with us a bit of what you do and how you serve clients in the world.
Oh, well, thank you for that intro, Jessica. That's going to be hard to beat. So I'm a coaching psychologist and I specialize in helping people in midlife, so between around 40 and 60, really understand what's going on for them at this stage of life, both like hormonally, but also with their psychology and how to get the most from life, how not to like fall into that midlife crisis, but see it for the midlife opportunity and transformation that it can be.
That is fascinating. I just watched a piece. Jack Nicholson was the lead, and it's called About Schmidt. Have you seen this piece? It's very fascinating. He's 60 and he retires and he goes through much of what you're talking about. Really interesting stuff. So where are you located, James?
So I am in London at the moment, but I tend to split my time between London and Ibiza in Spain.
Okay. So you get about the world, the globe as well, scooting about. I think what you're doing is very helpful to our mental health and psychology and really much like Fiona, with aligning her people with their spiritual passion and purpose. You're really helping people find meaning to their life in your own unique ways. I love the parallel for that. Josh, tell us, where are you?
Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Josh Sanabria. So I live in Chicago. I'm the CEO of GoArchitect, and we are a very small design and planning firm that works a lot with school districts. So basically helping school districts figure out how we can serve students and staff members the best. And obviously education is, well, it's probably one of the most important things around, and helps children get a good start. So we try to do our best to make sure that school districts can provide the best education, the safest that they can for the next 10, 20 years. So yeah.
So how does the technology support the school system? What exactly does it do, Josh?
So we quite literally work with school districts on the buildings and the plans for those buildings that they're going to have.
So the design
to support education. Yeah. So design, planning ahead, figuring out how they're going to pay for everything. And of course, each school district is different. It serves, maybe students who have autism. That actually is a project that we just finished last week. Some other are in poor neighborhoods of different cities.
So you're
in wealthy neighborhoods. So
you're designing before the building actually exists. So are you working with the school districts or the county governments, or a little of both, from a design and a revenue space?
Sure. So mostly the school district. So looking at what needs those students have, how many students are coming in. For example, if we're in a
so they
growing
need to add
neighborhood,
they need to add
multiple buildings, maybe an entire school.
Well, I will tell you, so I don't usually talk about much of me in the show, but in my career, I've been a speaker nationally for 25 plus years and internationally for 5. And one of the organizations you'll have to get with me after the show that I spoke at their conferences frequently was AASA, which is Superintendents of Public Schools throughout the country. And I have some great contacts there, and there's some other national associations that would be good for you. And Marysol, I know there's some book clubs and pieces for you. And Fiona, there's a bunch of summits specific to your topic. And James also, mindset is huge. And so I know a lot of people we can connect you with as well. So because we have a bit of time, I want to go a bit deeper. So give us how you, give us at least, 1 to 2 sentences so we can get to everyone, who you're serving, and then how, when they come to work with you, are you working with them? Do you have group programs? Do you have a workshop coming up? Do you have what it is you're doing to serve? So Fiona, let's start with you. So who's coming to you? What kind of pain are they feeling? And then what are the ways that you're providing your connection with them, and how? Like, is it virtual? Is it in person? Is it a workshop? Is it an online course? Those kinds of things.
Yeah, it's mainly online. But I do run workshops, and I do face-to-face. Like in a couple of weeks, I'm going to south of France to work for a week with an actress, actually, who lives in California. But it's generally people who have come to a crossroads in their life, and they believe that there's so much more to them than what they've ever realized. Everyone that I've come across has this feeling inside of them that they know that there's something so much more than what we've been taught, more than what our parents have told us, more than what the news and the programs that program us from our TVs. And they come and they say, who am I? Who am I? Who am I? And I mean, they're coming through now. I was so fortunate that when I was in that place of deep depression and anxiety 24 years ago, and I was going to the computer and I was running a business with a business partner, and every time I went to the computer, my body hurt and I was feeling really ill. And I said to my husband, this job's killing me. And I didn't know then that we have this amazing body that gives us such amazing feedback. And then my father transitioned, and oh my God, that was like my whole my signpost. I followed him everywhere. I didn't realize how depressed I was.
Mm.
And for whatever reason, the energy in the room changed. I was sobbing and crying. This beam of light happened. I was in the corporate world. I was working for the oil companies. Okay. I was Miss Ordinary is what I say. I think I still am, really. This beam of light came, and this most magnificent, phenomenal, beautiful angel appeared. And he took me on a most profound journey. I met my father. He was 74 when he transitioned, but he was 35. I was 4 years old holding his hand. So I met me. I knew in that instant there was no such thing as time. I knew that everything was energy, everything was frequency, and our frequency and how we feel about ourselves affect our frequency and our reality. My whole life changed. The company folded, and I knew I needed at that time to become an animal behaviorist. And that took me back to the roots, because I was with animals and dogs, horses out in nature when I was a child. But then going through the education system and college and then the corporate world, I was so detached from myself. I was lost.
And so you're helping your clients reconnect with themselves
absolutely.
Is what's happening.
Yeah. And the frequencies that flow through me activate their cells, and they go, oh my God, I remember this. I remember this. And generally they start crying. And when they start crying, it's yes.
It's a positive tear. It's a washing of the soul. I'm blessed to have lovely dreams of I was very close to many people who've died, and I get to see them in very deep dreams and spend time with them, and I value that very much. So thank you.
They're just in another frequency. They haven't gone anywhere. They're just in another frequency that's higher than this.
Thank you for that. Marysol, we do have a space where we talk specifically about books that our guests have written, but that is the main core of your focus. So where do you get some of the, we'll talk about some specific names of books and things that are coming for you in a moment in the show, but where do you get some of your inspiration and your ideas and things?
I get asked this a lot. And the truth is that I don't so much get inspiration for characters. I get inspiration for situations where I'll pick something quite modern and contemporary, because that's what I write. I write contemporary romance. So I'll pick something like the state of the medical system in the United States, or something to do with sex trafficking, or even something sort of as basic as somebody leaves their childhood home for very good reasons, swear to never go back, and then return at a later time for whatever reason, and they have to figure out how to have relationships in basically a graveyard for them emotionally. So what I tend to do is create these situations that are very real to my readers. They can relate to them: disease, family, relationships, trauma. And then I put my characters in them. And my characters are fully developed. I don't base them on anybody. They're perfectly imaginary. But then what I try to do is I say to myself, what would this person do in this situation? And that's where the storytelling happens. That's where the stories come from. So I would say my inspiration is very modern, day-to-day, realistic, things my readers see, can relate to. I've had readers read a book and send me an email and say, I really liked the book. The writing was fantastic, but it was just too close to the bone. It's not my favorite book of yours. And I understand that. I appreciate that, because that tells me that I hit it. I got it right in the bullseye.
Well, being relatable, I think, is huge for you to really pull them into the story, having those really specific details and moments that people can connect with, so they can see themselves in the scenario. Really heightens their imagination and helps them use that as just a place to go. Sometimes it's nice to have a healthy and a safe escape, whether it's going for a run or reading a novel or being out on the water or being by the ocean for me, or kayaking is my actually happy place. But I love that you do this for the world. Thank you, Marysol. James, tell me who is your most often who's coming to you, and kind of where are their pains and what's causing them to say, I have to do something different. I need to find someone, and then hope has it that they find you to help them through this transition period that you seem to have an expertise in.
Yeah, so most of my clients tend to be successful individuals who often present with like a surface level issues. They'll be like, oh, you know, I'm just a bit low on energy, or I could do with shifting a few pounds. But once we dig into it, that's not really the issue at all. It's more about having achieved a lot, but then feeling a little bit lost. Like, am I still on purpose? Am I still living to my values? So a really good point we work with is like, where are we now and where do you want to go? So, you know, for instance, we'll look like, where's your energy expenditure? Are you spending it all on your career, finances? You know, that might not be wrong for you, but it's a question of where do you want to be expending it? Are your relationships suffering as a result? And then from there, we can make a roadmap. The other thing we do is make people aware of how integrated we are as beings, right? So in the modern world, we'll tend to have quick fixes. We take a very, what I call external approach. So it'll be like, oh, I'll just do the new workout or take the new supplement. That'll fix it. Actually, no, you know, we know what we eat will directly affect our mood through our neurotransmitter production. Just one example. So it's about establishing where are we going to make lots of small changes that don't overwhelm, but actually have a big impact when they're put together. And that truly integrated approach, looking at, you know, movement, nutrition, mindset, all those things in junction, really.
Are you doing group programs? Are you doing an online course? Are you doing all one-on-one? Is it all virtual? Is there any hybrid? Are you working with corporations and their teams? Or is it mostly, again, the one-on-one? How is it working for you?
Great question. So we have an 8-week group coaching program that we take people through. We deliver that in our own app, and it's supported by live group calls every week, hot seat coaching.
Nice hybrid.
We do one-to-one coaching, and then I am fortunate, I do go into corporations, and I'll talk about issues like my menopause practitioner as well. So I'll talk about issues around the menopause, but also particularly to men about what could be going on for their partners at menopause. I talk about male mental health, and that's a really big passion of mine, looking at age-related testosterone.
Fascinating. You're a man menopause expert.
Yeah, but I feel blessed to do it, you know, and it's interesting when I'm in those environments. Sometimes women feel more comfortable talking to me than if I'm co-presenting with another female, but it also allows the men there to come and maybe ask me questions they might be embarrassed to ask of a woman.
That's funny. Fiona mentioned earlier how amazing our bodies are and how in touch we are with them, and how I believe if I ask something, I'm able to get an answer, whether it's from me, whether it's from God, whatever people want to believe, or wherever I'm getting this information. And I just happen to know that, so I'm 51 and fabulous. I don't believe I've been through the whole change thing yet, because all the things seem to be working normally as my youth, but I don't think I'm going to have any challenges. Like, I've just kind of know that. Like, I know that sounds a little arrogant maybe, or even wrong to say. I have the same core belief. Like, I am certain, and I feel for, and I have been touched by cancer with so many people in our lives, friends and family and things, but for whatever reason, I just know, I'm certain that that's not going to affect me either. Now, something else could. I'm not saying I'm like, impermeable or superhero, but those specific things have no worry for me. I just, I don't know. I think it's bizarre to say. Maybe sounds like I'm a little bit nuts, but anyone watching for 8 years knows that that's a little, there's a little of that. Just makes it fun. Just nuts enough to be fun. So I love that you're doing that, James. And interesting thing you talked about is just making tiny little changes across the board. And we're going to go around the room and get tips from everyone, but one of the things I implemented, and one of the things I realized, was I needed to look at my routine and my day as is. What do I do all the time? What am I doing all the time? And here I stand. Well, I started a standing desk many years ago because it's better than sitting on my bum. Yes. And I didn't want it to spread too wide over the years. So needed to keep it up. But then I added about a year ago a walking pad so that I'm walking 4 to 6 hours at least every single day. Now I'm standing still because we're in the show, right? We're live. But most of the time I'm in meetings that it's very appropriate and all right for me to just walk away, and I'll walk miles and miles, every day. So I feel like I'm going somewhere as I'm getting work done. It's very exhilarating. And, to my benefits of crazy, I have inspired some people who say, hey, give me the Amazon link. What walking pad is that? I'm going to start walking too now. And because they saw me in a networking group or in a group meeting where hey, they're typing me in the chat. Are you actually walking? I'm like, yes, I am. I'm going somewhere. I don't know where, but I'm going to get there one day. So it's funny if you look at, because this is something I already do, right? I'm already here. And so that's what I started to think about. What little things can you change in your schedule that is already you, right? Without having to try to change us so drastically. And go with that. Well, thank you for sharing that. Josh, my daughter goes to a Montessori school. And I'm hoping that when you're designing these schools, one of the things I love is they have an in-ground pool, they have live gardens, they have live chickens, better than the dead kind, unless it's for lunch, right? And they work outside, they have outside workspaces, they don't have desks set up, they have functioning workspaces all throughout, and they're able to move around. They do their own workflow and work program. I hope some of the beautiful things you're designing are incorporating some of these kinds of designs in your schools. Yes?
Yeah. Every school is a little bit different. Every grade, of course, is a little bit different. One thing that we've really focused on is engaging the community. So for example, your community of parents, we've actually designed pieces of software that help make that easier. One, for example, one that we just made is called Engage. It's a free software that anyone can use. And basically Engage takes that sticky notes activity that you might do as a community member or family. If you're giving feedback, you physically write it on a sticky note and you put it on a board. Well, this takes that same interaction, but makes it digital. So we can send these sticky note activities to hundreds of parents at a time and gather that feedback, gather it in English and Spanish and things like that. So community engagement is a big part of it because it's not just for kids, right? They want to be active. Parents, turns out, also want their opinions heard. So we try to make that as simple as possible.
Well, and I wish, and my hope is, as the world improves, that we will have in the school systems more time management and goal setting and mindset and just more of the things that very successful, highly productive adults who achieve great things, those kinds of habits and resources and books and workshops and things they're taking would be more incorporated in the youth of our schooling programs. That would be fantastic benefit, I believe, to our world. One of the things I believe in is legacy, and I'm building for our children and our trust, not only resources and money, but we're compiling pieces of art and things created by the family and knowledge. So all the books that my husband and I believe are fantastic to read, and programs and videos that are inspirational or about real people. I just watched something on the life of William Shakespeare, and as I mentioned, Agatha Christie, and like people who've done great things with their lives. And we want to compile this knowledge bank or vault of resources so that they don't have to wander through life and maybe run into them and maybe not, but they could have all the best books I've ever written that have transformed or inspired me powerfully, which is also why I ask all our guests about that, to have that readily available. Okay, now we're going to run around the space again and get a tip from everyone. Fiona, can you give a tip for us to maybe connect with our angel or find our alignment or get in that space? What's something you could share with everyone they could use today?
Place your hand on your heart. Very simple. Close your eyes and use the technology of your most magnificent body. And allow your consciousness, your thoughts, your energy to come here into your heart space. And just allow yourself to love yourself. We are the most powerful, magnificent beings.
For sure.
And
For
just
sure.
allow ourselves to love ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll totally change the world.
That is true. I one of the things, you can giggle, I have already confessed being just enough crazy, that I say in the mirror to myself how much I love me. And I do really, truly love me.
I was going to say that one, and I'm thinking,
there's something very powerful about looking yourself
really
deep into your own eyes, something about the eyes of the soul, and telling yourself that there is a genuine feeling that is incredibly powerful. All right, Marysol, tell us something that will help our creative juices. Give us a tip. Maybe we have a fiction book hiding within us that we should get out. What's a tip you could give us?
Actually, the tip that I thought of when I first was asked to come up with a tip is actually something probably closer to what James would suggest. But it's something that my grandmother told me, my mother told me, which is go drink some water and drink more water. And the reason I say this is because anytime I feel tired and I have a glass of water, I feel better. If my skin is looking gray and I have a glass of water, I look much better. It's something that it's easy, it's basic, and it's one of those small changes you can make in your day that has a huge impact. So I'm afraid it's not very inspirational, but it is very practical, and it's something we can do. Drink some water. That's my tip.
Love it. I'm going to press you for one more, though.
Okay.
I want, what's the most romantic thing that ever occurred in any of your romance novels? We need to give the men out there some advice so they can give some romance to their girl.
Oh, wow. The most romantic thing anybody ever did in one of my romance novels? Oh, Lord, you really put me on the spot here.
Well, while you think of it, I'll tell you.
I'll come back to me.
I will.
I've written 30 books.
While you think of it, I will tell you, my husband is a licensed general contractor, and he was a wrestler at the University of Maryland. So very, well, I fell in love with his hot muscles. He still has. But
understandable.
Very manly and, very, not what you'd say Casanova romantic kind of guy, but he's come up with some very romantic things that just take my breath away. One, because so out of his personality, right? But he made this brilliant effort. And one of my favorite poems, yes, I'm sappy and like poems, is How Do I Love Thee? Let Me Count the Ways. And for one of my birthdays, we have 7 children and 8 grandchildren. And for one of my birthdays, with all these children, money was a bit squeaky. And he had gone to get a big, I think 24 roses or something. And he took little pieces of shiny purple paper and hand hole punched. I know because I found the little dots of the hole punch around his desk, and tied little ribbon to each one. And the first one said, next to my pillow, I wake up. And the first one said inside, how do I love thee, ... Let me count, ... And then I went to all the places I go, my coffee pot, my computer, the dashboard of my car, because I drive the kids to school, all the places there was another rose and another way he loved me. And in the middle of the day, I often get deliveries for my company. And so there's a knock at the door. I expect the delivery man. I open the door. There stands my husband with his arms filled with the rest of the roses, all tied with reasons he loved me. So I will say, if you're listening and you're a guy, steal that. Go with it. Just make someone else's woman glow with joy and happiness and love. You totally have my permission to use that one because it's a good one. So, Marysol, we'll come back to you for a romance tip later.
Okay.
But James, how about you? Give us a tip that they can use today that will help them in their time of transition and getting their headspace right, or getting their health space right. Whatever you feel the audience might need to hear.
Yeah, so I think most people underestimate the power of their beliefs and habits to trip them up when they're going for goals. So I think it's really important to spend time identifying, what new habits you want to get, essentially. And my tip for helping speed that up is someone can do something called habit stacking, right? So it's where we take an existing habit and add a new habit to it. So I'll give you two really quick examples. Say you decide that you want to do affirmations. Every day you want to say, oh, you're amazing, you're wonderful, you can do this, but you're struggling to remember to do it. Do it when you're cleaning your teeth, because that's a habit you're going to do every morning, right? You're there, so you hold toothbrush, add the affirmations. Now, the other one might be from Marysol. We should all be drinking lots of water. Many people don't. So it could be like every time you go to the kitchen to do something, you remember just to drink a glass of water when you're there. So the new habit is the water put on top of the other. It's called habit stacking, and it's a really effective way to help rewire those pathways in the brain, because habits and beliefs aren't just the abstract construction. We know that it actually lays down pathways in the brain. Modern medical imaging and neuroscience tells us we can actually change those pathways, form new pathways, and this is a way to shortcut it and speed up the process.
I love that. And something else about when you're habit stacking and you're adding those new pieces to things you already do, as James is saying, is when you go to the grocery store, go a different way. When you drop your kid off at school, find a new path. Don't go the same way you always go. Because when you're building new neural pathways for your new habit, if you push your mind to do something that you do all the time differently, it'll actually strengthen the process of that construction for the new habit you're trying to get. The brain is such a fascinating thing. Josh, you are the can I say this lovingly and not get thrown off the show? our tech minded, I don't want to call you a geek, but in the best way possible, right? You're our tech person, and everyone else is kind of a little more Marysol's creativity and romance. We got Fiona in the spiritual world. We got James doing our mindset and our things, and here you are with our technology and school design. So give us a tip on maybe how the schools and the communities can work together better. The good news for you is I am very well connected with county executive and superintendents of public schools throughout the country, especially on my LinkedIn profile, so where we're live streaming right now, as well as other places. So your message is valuable and will be heard by the right people. I don't want you to think, well, maybe I'm in the wrong room. I'm Mr. Tech.
No, okay.
Or you're still helping our most valuable asset, which is the children of the future. So,
yeah, I would say that, and this I think can apply to other fields, other professions, and just even individuals. I think it's been helpful for me to think about not everything is set in stone, and actually our world is pretty fragile. Our financial systems, our political systems, our technology, our education systems, most of it comes down to really a few people or a few kind of key items. And so I think people assume that their input or their participation is not really valuable, or it's too small to contribute. But really, actually, you can contribute, and even if it only makes a difference in your individual classroom with one teacher, you actually have you can have an outsized impact, and one person really can make a big difference in a school district with tens of thousands of students. And one school district can make a big difference in the state, with maybe millions of students. So I would say to remember that our world is actually more fragile than you might assume, and that one person can have a positive impact even in a big world.
I think that is very beautifully said, Josh. Very well done. And I would couple that with every time you do something creative like Marysol, or you work with Fiona on your alignment spiritually, or you work with James to make yourself better, or you read a book on self-help, or you improve on a positive habit in your life. Every time you do that, you actually impact the entire world in a positive way. Every time we do something to work on ourselves to be the best version of us, that energy and that positive shift has an impact on our entire world, in my own belief. That may not be the belief of my guests or anyone watching, but that is my personal belief. And I think what you said was very beautiful, Josh. So yes, we can make a difference. One thought, one inspirational quote, one watching someone else walk in a networking on a Zoom just could inspire someone else to start walking too, and who knows, that could save their life, right? So that's lovely. All right. So speaking of saving lives, one of the things we started since show number 1, and get ready out there, all of you watching, and I see some of you out there. So make sure that you're putting in the comments your favorite cause. That's right. We're at the time we're going to talk about the causes that are close to our guest's heart. You might inspire someone to give time, treasure, or talent to the cause they love, to the cause you mentioned in the comments, to the causes our guests talk about, or they just might decide to do a random act of kindness, all because you shared and you hit that share button. So put your comments in, hit the share button. We thank you for that. And Fiona, share with us a nonprofit or a cause of some kind that's close to your heart.
Well, it's donkeys, actually. And it's not one specific cause, but it's all over the world. And people can be very adoring of horses, and I am very adoring of horses. And the lovely donkeys seem to get put on the sideline. And there are quite a lot of donkey sanctuaries around the world where, you know, the donkeys are looking for some love, and they are so loving. And if you go to a donkey sanctuary, you can adopt a donkey. You don't actually need to physically take it home, but you help, you know, to food and things.
I love it.
You will, when you interact with the donkey, I tell you, your heart will blossom.
Aww.
And it will change your life, and it will change your frequency, and it will change your day. And
well, there's some famous donkeys in history. And so Fiona says, if you feel so inspired, give it a Google and love a donkey today.
Love a donkey.
Fiona, that's brilliant. I love it. Marysol, how about a cause that's close to your heart?
It's strange because I have been sponsoring the Donkey Sanctuary in England for about 4 years. My donkey is named Jimmy, and he's brilliant. And it's funny that you brought this up, because that was literally the cause I was going to espouse as well. So let's just say that I agree with Fiona. Another one for the donkeys.
I have to tell you,
it's not a lot of money, and they have merchandise at a store. You can get donkey Christmas presents, and all the money goes to the sanctuary, and you can visit them. They have Visitors Day, and also some of the sanctuaries around England anyway have weekends where you can go pitch a tent and hang out with the donkeys. So I highly recommend it. So I support Fiona.
Yeah, yoga with your donkeys. I think everyone needs a donkey Christmas present. There's someone on your list today that needs a holiday gift that comes from a donkey sanctuary. 8 years and never have we had a donkey nonprofit spoken of. I actually thought she was pulling my leg a bit when she started, and now we have 2 in one show. So there you have it, people. You just never know what's coming up. James, are we also for the donkeys, or do we have another cause today that you might want to share?
Well, funnily enough, no. My organisation is a British organisation that basically is an anti-bullying. It's called Kidscape, and my wife volunteers for them, and they go into schools and basically help children who are being bullied with tools to kind of overcome it and to deal with it. So yeah, Kidscape anti-bullying.
Love it, love it, love it. You know, just be kind. Kindness is king. Josh, I'm sure you can relate to the anti-bullying, but you have a cause that you care about and is close to your heart.
Yeah, I live in downtown Chicago, so not many donkeys.
Yeah, I was going to say, donkeys are in Chicago.
No, so I actually volunteer with a local art nonprofit called Epic Art House. You can go to epicarthouse.org, and we have pottery classes, drawing, block printing, free family events on Sundays for like crafts and low-income kids, things like that. So something I've been helping out with for about 2 years now. And I teach some of the classes and also help organize some of the kids events, things like that. And yeah, it's been fun to participate. And we have, give or take, 600 families or so come in the door every year. So it's been a lot of fun.
And I love this one. So if you're watching, you're thinking, I'm inspired to support one of these causes, take a look at the custom articles. Each guest featured here will have a custom article. You'll be able to find them on our website and all the places that these videos are posted. So whether you're watching live now or a replay, make sure you catch that. And you can click the links in those articles to check out those amazing causes. Now we're at the next piece. Get your fingers ready again for typing. If you have a book that has inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business, or maybe you're an author like Marysol here, you can put that in the comments as well. And again, hit the share button, because when you do, so do others, and we will get your books, your favorite ones, as well as the ones you've authored, out there to the world, featuring you as well. Fiona, let's start with a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business. We're going to do books not written by everyone on the panel first, and then we're going to talk about books they've either written or are thinking about writing as we go about. So Fiona, you first, please.
The one that I always keep going back to, and I read it years and years ago, is The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And you've talked about your belief about your menopause, and James has talked about belief too, and our environment and epigenetics that Bruce talks about. And that was a real game changer for me. And introducing the donkeys, do you see how our frequencies all went up? We changed our environment, we changed ourselves into love, which I love what Marysol does. And it comes back to the biology of belief, and what we choose to focus on and what brings us joy changes our biology. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
It really isn't complicated. So you just need to pull yourself up, speak to somebody like me, James, read some beautiful books, go to a Montessori school if you're a child. I mean, that would have been, I would have been in heaven if I'd gone to Montessori. And create the environment that you want to live in. Create the environment you want to, and be with beautiful people that you want to be with. And speak your truth. Be in alignment. When you're in alignment, you can only speak your truth, and people feel that truth. And they go, oh, I want to be like that. And it starts the ball rolling.
It's true.
And then hire a donkey.
That's right. Go sponsor a donkey. And I have to, and I usually would just run around and we would go and talk about everyone's books, but I have to interject because you said something that's really powerful. And I'm going to share very shortly a story that I hope that when I'm gone is one of the ways I'm remembered, and a story that's retold for all the days of my life. I was walking on the boardwalk very close to where I live. I live by the water. I'm very blessed with my hot, hunky husband. And I was just so bubbly of the joy from the day, and talking about the interviews like I'm doing with this, and the people I'm meeting from all over the world, and just how much I love, and a class that I taught, and all of the energy of love they were giving back to me. And I said out loud as I'm walking, and when you walk, you pass other couples and people who are walking, and you probably cycle around more than one time. The island is a full little loop, and people walk it, multiple times. And we must have passed this couple when I was talking before, and then I was speaking again. And this time I was saying, people really like me. They feel my energy, they feel my joy, and that's what I want to give the world. And this woman and her husband, she stopped in her truck and she said, I do feel your joy. I do really love. Perfect stranger, and hugged and embraced me, and then hugged my husband, and he was a little bit shocked. He's not He's, oh, I'm being hugged now. My son, I don't know. And it was just wonderful to visit with them. And I thought, this is one of the greatest moments of my life, where if I can cause a perfect stranger to push my energy out in ripples of glowing, loving joy, that they feel so compelled to randomly hug me, I have done something wonderful in my life, I believe. So, yes, Fiona, I do believe that we need to be vibes of joy and bundles of joy, and that it does make a difference to people.
And
even
it's super easy.
Walking by, you just don't know.
Could be an angel.
That's right. Marysol, how about you? What's a book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business? Not written by you.
Not written by me. Well, let me just sort of say that just about a year ago, I left an extremely abusive relationship. It was emotionally, physically, psychologically abusive. And I crawled away from that disaster a year ago. I moved to where I am now with my son. I got us both out. And my headspace was an absolute disaster. And I came across this book, which I'm going to hold up for you. I don't know if you can see it. It's called You Are a Badass. It's by Jen Cicero. Cicero? I never, Cincero. And it's all about how you stop doubting your own greatness. You completely change your mind about where you've come from, who you are now, and what you're capable of in the future. And it basically teaches you how to not just live an incredible life, but really believe you're deserving of an incredible life. And I got myself out of that abusive relationship, but this book helped me change my mind about where I could go from there. So I highly recommend it to anybody who feels lost in their life in any way. I'm not talking about abuse at all, or divorce or bad relationship. Anybody who feels stuck or lost or confused. It's a great book. It's short. It's written very informally, so it's very approachable. And it is so positive. And she's written 3 other books. One is about money, one is about daily habits, and one is about how to be a badass every day. So basically, once you embrace this change in yourself, how to keep it going, and then how to expand it to financial security, and finally how to do habits. And habit stacking is something she talks about, the importance of daily habits and how small things have such a huge impact. So I'd recommend all 4 of her books, but I would start with this one, honestly, because that's the one I started with, and it changed how I decided to proceed with my life over the past year.
Well, congratulations on
thank you.
on your step forward and your safety, and we're very happy for your success in that, and continue right along, because we're always a bit more brilliant than we believe. And I think everyone on this panel, just the short time we've spent with you, can say that we can see your brilliance glowing from you without reading a single book of yours. So thank you for being here.
Now I'm going to blush. Thank you.
All right, James, you're in the hot seat. Share a book that you love that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business.
Yeah, so when I was going through a particularly difficult time in my life, I stumbled on a book by accident, and it had a huge impact. So it's called The Joy of Living Dangerously by Osho. It's basically about embracing uncertainty in life and living more courageously. So I thoroughly recommend that as a read to anyone.
Love it. Love it. Love it. How about you, Josh? A book that inspired your personal life or helped you grow your business?
Sure. So there's a book called Blue Ocean Strategy. And on the surface, it's a business book about basically going into areas of business that are not red oceans or filled with competition with, blood in the water is the analogy. But if you look at it a little bit deeper, it's actually a book about personal application and what you choose to work on. And if you always choose to work on something where you're constantly competing with somebody else, it makes it, I think, hard for you to do your best work. And so you should try to find a particular area that you are good in or can add value. And obviously, again, business is an obvious application for that, but it can be applied in a lot of different ways, certainly with nonprofits and personal ventures.
For sure, for sure. I love that. I always look at things in collaborative ways. So I don't feel stuck in the trap of competition. So I think that's made what all the things I do move with flow and ease and abundance and more surprising opportunities than I ever imagined. And that's always very exciting to me. So Fiona, I'm going to put you in the particular hotter seat. You have not as of yet written a book, but you are thinking of this in the future. So any insight on what you might be cooking?
Well, I channel, and it would be a book on how we're all channels. You know yourself, Jessica, extremely well, and your confidence absolutely exudes coming off this screen. And this is the first time we've met, and I think you are an absolute joy. And it's because you know who you are, but you also know what you don't like and what you do like. And that's you being more in alignment than a lot of people who keep themselves stuck in a corporate job or something that are going because they've got to, because the money's going to get them, how are they going to survive if they don't? When you actually give yourself a breath, come back into you then start feeling your heart and you start feeling your soul, and your energy changes, and like attracts like. So that's why you're getting all these wonderful opportunities and these people that come and hug you.
Yeah.
Because they want more of that. You want more of that. Every single person here wants to be loved. And every single person wants to give love. And the whole purpose of life is to be love.
Which is why Marysol's books are so popular. So I definitely see a book in your future, and I love what you say, and it's true. There have been times in my life where I was, with 6 kids, the only provider in our family, because my husband was caring for our newest newborn, and I walked away from the job because it was the wrong one, and I told my husband not to worry, something will come, and it did. And there have been many times in my life where I've made that bold move. And much like Marysol, actually, I was married for 7 years prior to this amazing man I'm with now. And he was married 9 years. And both our spouses left us for other people. And my relationship was very abusive, physically, emotionally, and in more ways than I can share on social media, as they just might pull us down. But I feel forgiveness and healed and glowy and lovey, and only wish well for all the people involved in the scenarios that I have experienced. So there is brightness on the other side. So Marysol, let's talk about some of your books.
Okay. There's 30 of them. There's 30 romance books.
Woohoo!
Read over 6 series. Some series have 5 books, some series have 8 books. There's one series I'm working on right now. The 4th book will be published next month on August 12th is the publication date. Besides that, I have written 3 other books, not romance, contemporary literature, quite dark, based in Canada, and a series of a collection of short stories. So I would say that my writing is kind of all over the place, but romance is my great love. I fell into it completely by accident. I was working in the corporate world. I was the chief operational director for Central and Eastern Europe, and then I got sick. I got cancer. I was fired, and I wrote a romance novel while I was lying in bed from the chemotherapy. I was so ill, I couldn't do much. So I just wrote this thing as a way to pass the time. It was it was almost a joke between me and 2 friends, and I published it, and it became a bestseller. And 29 books later, 30 if you count the one that will be published next month, it's become absolutely my passion. It's become a great way for me to connect with people who believe in romance, believe in second chances. I get emails from people. I got a beautiful email from a woman who told me that she brought one of my print books, not my ebooks, one of my print books to this senior center where she volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
She gave it to this woman who is one of her sort of favorite patrons. Oh, have I frozen?
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I'm fine. Okay. Oh, I'm back. And the book made the rounds of the senior center, and they were sitting around the common room in the evenings, and they were talking about Jax and Sarah, and how could Jax do that to her? And oh no, it wasn't his fault. It was Sarah's fault. And there are all these people with all this life experience sitting there debating, discussing one of my books, and I hear things like that, and it makes me so happy to be able to do this, because so many people think of romance writing as lightweight and romance readers as somehow not very intelligent, but I think everybody wants to love and be loved, like Fiona said. And I think everybody would like not just love, but a little bit of romance, a little bit of glamour.
So can you tell me
Yeah.
how steamy do they get, in all honesty?
Extremely, extremely steamy. I can't go into much more detail than
That's
that.
all I want to
Extremely
know.
steamy.
Steamy.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking.
I get emails from women telling me I actually saved their marriage, because they would read kind of this steamy story and they would kind of take the initiative with
And
the
that
husband.
guy would totally look different, didn't he?
Yeah. So I've saved a couple of marriages, apparently.
Darling, have you fixed your hair differently today? Because what?
Yeah. She kind of took inspiration, like, you know what? So-and-so was brave enough to take the initiative in one of Marysol's stories. I'll do it too.
Wonderful.
And
Did you have a romantic thing? Remember we were talking about tips? Did you think of something romantic that occurred in one of your books?
Probably the most romantic thing any of my characters ever did was, I can't give too much of the story, but
Sure.
basically what happened is one of my characters is horribly injured and she loses her memory of the relationship with this man. And he gets her to fall in love with him all over again.
Lovely.
I don't want to give too much more than
That's
that.
all we need to know. That's all.
Okay.
We don't want to.
It was extremely romantic.
Right.
If you would like to read it, it's called Dangerous Curves. So you can read it for yourself.
Certainly. James, how about you? Have you, I believe you co-published with a group, yes?
Yeah, I kind of co-author in a book called One, which was all around transformation and tools you could use. And I've just finished the first draft of a book that's specifically designed for midlife men to help them understand what's going on with them, with testosterone, how that's impacting their psychology. Because sadly, I think in the Western world, for midlife men, it's the highest suicide cohort. It's a real problem, and I think it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I want to make tools available that can help men understand, feel understood, and maybe open the conversations, because men, particularly at our age group, particularly bad at opening up and having those conversations with their partners, with their friends, with professionals. So I want to try and change the narrative around that.
Josh, how about you? Any books in your future? Any books you've written? I could see you doing something wonderful as kind of a guide to schools on how to incorporate community, how to incorporate technology, how to incorporate design. I mean, I could see an entire book for you if you haven't written it already. Talk to us about books. Any books in your future?
You know, the book I've written is the almost exact opposite of that. I wrote a kid's book called Norman's Architecture Adventure. Basically, this boy, I wrote and illustrated it during my lunch hours while I was working a job for another firm. I would just sit and draw on my iPad during lunch, and people would always come by and ask me what I'm doing. But yeah, it's just a little boy who goes on this adventure in a construction site, basically.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
All right,
Yeah.
so we have your holiday gifts lined up for you. We have books for you to spark the romances and marriages you feel like could use a little spark. We have donkey gifts, and we have children's books. So we pretty much checked off your list months in advance for the holidays. We're brilliant, aren't we? We've got this for them. Now, if you're watching, you're thinking, wait, I am an industry expert. I should be one of these faces on this panel. I could improve someone's personal life or grow their business. then I say reach out to our team and we'll tell you just how to get on the show. Actually, all of these beautiful faces I have never met before in this interview today, which I think makes it fun and fabulous and exciting. We leave open opportunities for the universe, yet we have organization and structure, as I need both of those things in my life. So before we say goodbye, we've had such a lovely time with all of you, and I hope you've all had just as much fun as I, and believe there is just as much value in this, because I definitely know my community speak to all of your gifts, even our techie Josh. Matter of fact, especially him, many contacts in that space. And in that world. So reach out to me and I'll talk to you a bit more about how I can help you with that, Josh. But all of you had such value and so much to bring to today's call. I'm hoping that you had bits of fun. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, loads.
Yes, thank you.
Now, before we let them go, don't worry. I'm going to keep them. I've held them tight. They're hostage until they give us a final piece of information or inspiration each as we close out today's amazing, fun, and fabulous show. So very full of love and joy, especially today. Fiona, a final thought, a piece of information or inspiration for everyone?
It's to be selfish, because being selfish is the most unselfish thing that you can do. And taking yourself on a date, looking after yourself, looking in the mirror, really honestly does change your biology. When you smile, your heart blossoms. And when you smile at another, the other person automatically smiles back at you, and you've changed two people's biology, but you've also changed the environment, so the plants and everything else feel it.
I love it.
Turn up full because you've been selfish and looked after you.
I love it. Beautiful. Be selfish and smile. I love it. Good advice, Fiona. Marysol, some advice as we say goodbye?
Well, I touched on it earlier when I said that I used to work in the corporate world, and then I got ill, and then I started romance writing kind of as a way to pass the time or a joke. And now it's my full-time career, and it's my passion, and it supports myself and my son. It helped us leave an abusive relationship. So I think my advice would be to be really open to opportunities that cross your path, because they might look ridiculous or not for you at the time. The whole idea that I would write a romance novel 10 years ago was ludicrous. I couldn't imagine it. But I am so grateful that I did it. I love how it's changed my life. I love who it's brought into my life. So I think my advice would be, just give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? It's not for you. Something else will be, but give it a shot.
Do something new, right? Write a story, write a poem, write a song, paint a picture, play with pottery, do some of the crafts Josh talked about in his nonprofit. Do something cool and different. You just know, do some glass blowing, do some glass work, do something artistic. You just might not happen to fall in love with it. James, how about you? Final thought?
Yeah, so I think in the modern world, a lot of people are feeling overwhelmed or stressed, and that can, of course, lead to feelings of anxiety. What we know is that gratitude and anxiety are opposing states. You can't be in both. So if anyone out there that is feeling that anxiety bubbling up, pause, take a breath, just reflect on something you're grateful for in your life, and that will just help dispel that anxiety away and bring you that peace.
That's right. Have a gratitude rock in your pocket. So every time you put your hands in your pocket, you feel grateful. I love that. All right, Josh, how about you? Piece of advice as we sign off?
Sure. I would say to expect much and therefore attempt much. It's a, I don't know, something that I've lived by for a long time. I think if you really expect to succeed, then those temporary hiccups along the way seem less like insurmountable things. They're just more small bumps, but you can keep going.
That's absolutely right. I love it. This has been a lovely show. I am your host, Jessica Koch. This is Profound Professionals. We're going to keep bringing you industry experts globally that improve your personal lives and grow your business. Until our next show, everyone, please be kind to yourself out there and be kind to each other. Thank you, my guests, and bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.